So I have a lot of different thoughts running through my mind right now. In some ways, Memorial Day is a commemoration of martyrdom, isn't it?
Hmm.
Yes.
And that's a particular theme that I've explored. What is martyrdom, and how does it function in the U.S. context? How does it function around these special days of commemoration, like Veterans Day, Memorial Day, even Fourth of July? There is a little bit of this.
I don't think American culture is comfortable with the concept of martyrdom. They like heroes,
Yes. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think you are right. Um,
which only glorifies war and helps perpetuate it.
but think about, I mean, we do, there are all kinds of ways that the death of military service members in wars are held up as the sort of highest culmination of citizenship, right?
Mhm.
And even as something that is sacred. And there and once again, this is we don't tend to think about this very deeply. I wish that Memorial Day was a day when we could come together and reflect much more deeply about what is the meaning of these deaths,
Mhm.
and not only why have they happened, but what do they mean to us, and how should we think about them? I
Hmm.
wish there were, and also, what are appropriate ways of grieving, and 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 who should be included in that grief? Which deaths should be
Right.
included?
Which ones count? Yeah.
So I wish we could ask all of those kinds of questions, but we generally don't.
Right.
And this, in my mind, I really wondered about that for a long time. Why don't we ask more questions? Why don't we think about these things more deeply? And what I came to understand is that even though I think you're right, Harvey, we're very uncomfortable with the language of martyrdom, but this is actually, it is martyrdom that we are enacting and commemorating in the ways that we do it on Memorial Day.
Martyrdom implies a noble cause.
Well,
How
um,
many of our wars had anything to do with a noble cause?
yes, yes. But think about, are you familiar with the Luminary Initiative of that this is something that began in the 19, I think in the 1930s. It was a national resolution that was passed by the houses of Congress that on a particular day of the year, and I think it's in the fall,
Mm.
that everyone would put a candle in the window.
Mm.
And this is something that has become really important to, especially to Gold Star mothers.
Yes.
They would put a candle in the window, and that would be a way of commemorating and honoring mothers
Mm.
who have lost children, who had lost sons, that, as it was, understood
Right.
then, in wars. And this is something that still happens. So you're asking a good question. Are these deaths really for a noble cause? The rituals and the thinking that goes along with practices of martyrdom, you're right, tend to cover the deaths with a kind of sacred sheen of nobility, of honor, of glory. And they
Mhm.
also tend to push it to the back away from much critical questioning by making it
Mhm.
sacred. So when something is sacred, you're not really supposed to question it. If you question it, that makes you a heretic.
Bingo.
Well,
Thank you.
we've got
And
a
you're
we've
supposed
got
to
a
honor it and you're supposed to revere it and bow down before it.
uh,
So this is a part of our practices. And even by what you're saying, wait a minute, these
yeah.
deaths have not all been in a noble cause. That is like a wrench being thrust into the gears of the
Mhm.
ways that we perform martyrdom in the
Mhm.
United States on days like Memorial Day. I mean, think about the national and the state and even the local community rituals that do take place. I
Yeah.
think the one that you've described, Harvey, is somewhat of an outlier, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, but the general trend is much more along the lines of performative martyrdom, I would say.